Hey guys, MC Mura here. So as we did with the fighting games, we're gonna rank the hack and slash character action games. This is totally like a made up name because it's hard to identify, it's hard to categorize these type of games. It's like action games, right? But what makes like a hack and slash game? Like Dark Souls, right? You hack and slash. The game do have a huge focus on combat, but no one would say that Dark Souls and Devil May Cry is like the same thing, right? In general, I got the games that I do feel like people will agree generally that they are like hack and slash games, because that is not really the debate we are on about today. I'm gonna talk about these games based on how I experienced them. This is my feelings on these games. I don't gonna talk about them in absolute, because for example, DMC, Devil May Cry, right? I played the original PlayStation 3 version. I know that the game got re-released into like a version later that the original version had like 30 FPS. The updated version had 60, so that changes the game drastically. But I didn't really play the 60 FPS version, so I'm gonna talk about it how I experienced it, right? Again, this is all just my personal feelings. I got no huge authority over this. Everyone is free to have their own opinions. We're gonna have the GOATs. GOATs are the greatest games of all times, the kings and queens of action games, the ones that I still do go back and play to this day. Amazing games, pretty solid, just okay, forgettable, bad, and games that I didn't play, because this is like a made up tier list, but I added some of my own. So let's get out of the way first, the stuff that I didn't play. Castlevania, unfortunately didn't play that. I don't know what this game is. I don't know why Sonic Unleashed is here anyways. The Force Unleashed, I played for like 10 minutes, so I'm not gonna include it. Castlevania again, the Monkey King, unfortunately didn't. Wonderful 101, I heard so many good things about it, but unfortunately didn't play it. It's same as God Hand. These are two games that I heard a lot about, but unfortunately I was not able to play it. Wonderful One was on the Wii U. No one got the Wii U anyways. And when I got the Switch, I don't know, like I just played Bayonetta, so I never went back. So it's a game that I would like to experience one day, but I haven't played it. Everything else in here I did play. Oh no, the RWBY, I didn't play that. You know what I actually did? Oh my god, it is so... You know what, this is the first game that's gonna go into the forgettable, because now that I remember it, I did actually play it, but it's a very basic game. It's a very basic hack and slash game. I remember you played Ruby Red, right? I was like, it was kind of alright, but it's forgettable. Like, I genuinely forgot that I even played it. Anyway, so let's put it there. So we're gonna rank these games, and if there's a game that is about like a series, if we like stick to a series, then we're gonna do it, right? We're gonna do it game by game. Let's start with a bang. Let's start with a big series, and what is better to start with than Devil May Cry, right? So we got Devil May Cry 1, which I do think is... It's one of the hardest games to rank. I'm gonna say it's an amazing game. The thing about Devil May Cry 1 is that out of the Devil May Cry games, this is the one that probably feels the most dated. For its time, when I experienced it for the first time, it was amazing. It was like, oh my god, this is great. If you know, this game was originally supposed to be like a Resident Evil game. It have, in my opinion, the best environment, the best vibes out of all of like the Devil May Cry game. The combat was really different though. It was a lot more about survival than it is about like totally being stylish, although that was an element. I kind of like the fact of Dante like taking notes on the enemies, as that was really cool. It's an aspect that never made it back into the series, but the fixed camera angles, the speed of the game, I feel like if there is a game in the series that needs a remake, I would love to see like a Devil May Cry 1 remake. I would love to see how they handle it. For its time, revolutionary, insane. Right now, I don't think you would find it as playable as, say, Devil May Cry 3, which is gonna be one of my GOATs. Devil May Cry 3 is one of the greatest action games of all time. Like, if you have not played this one, oh my god. I remember when I played it for the first time and you got to the chapter 7 where you fought Dante, where you fought Virgil, and then like he quote unquote like finishes off Dante, and I was like, what, is the game over? And then oh my god, it's just beginning and there's so much game in here. I remember just beating Cerberus for the first time, and I played the original version, which like normal was like kind of like the hard difficulty, and oh my god, Cerberus was so difficult. but it was such a blast. It was such everything about this game. The Virgil fights was amazing. One of one of my regrets about Devil May Cry 3 is that I kept trying to learn Nivan, which was like the guitar kind of like psych weapon, and I never really got good with it. And I would see people on the internet doing the craziest stuff, but I never gotten. I played the PlayStation 2 version, and oh my god, I have beaten it maybe over like 10-20 times. I have not played the version on the Switch where they made it so that you're able to switch styles. I would love to try that out someday. Devil May Cry 3, absolutely one of the GOATs. I don't think this is something that most people would challenge. Devil May Cry 2, absolute garbage, dumpster fire. This is honestly one of the most disappointing video games of all time. I remember one day, like my dad, we went to like the store, and I was like, oh my god, Devil May Cry 2, and I was so hyped. I was so hyped and excited for this one. And when I played it, and within like the first hour, I was like, oh, what happened? And I never played it again. Like I played it for an hour, and I never touched it again. That game was just a complete dumpster fire. Like a complete dumpster fire. I don't know what you were thinking. Now here we're going to get a little bit controversial. And this is where like my feelings will come into the play. Devil May Cry 4 and Devil May Cry 5. I think both of them are amazing games. I know that Devil May Cry 4 is not complete. I know that Devil May Cry 5 is more complete. We finally found Dante's levels, V's playstyle, although not the most crazy, but it's still like a fun. It's fun to like experience Devil May Cry in a different perspective, like having like a wizard character. I feel like that was kind of cool. Devil May Cry 5 is a lot more complete. The graphics looks amazing. Devil May Cry 4, the enemy designs weren't that great. There is a fewer number of bosses in general. But I just love Devil May Cry 4 more. And I can't put my hands on why. I actually do have a couple of reasons. But for some reason, me, Mura, I prefer Devil May Cry 4 over 5. I find myself playing 4. I played 4 so many times, and I don't think I replayed Devil May Cry 5 that much. 4 got a couple of things going its way. For starters, I do think the combat feels better in Devil May Cry 4. It's the sense of inertia, the sense of momentum, like the weight of the enemies. It feels the best throughout the entire series. I don't know, is this a common opinion? Do you guys agree with me? Devil May Cry 4 is the best feeling Devil May Cry game, and if it's a game about combat and me having to replay the games over and over and over, feel is gonna matter a lot, right? This is the one game where I went back, I constantly play the Bloody Palace, I constantly try to finish it. I love Devil May Cry 4 so much, and it's the first game where it introduced like Nero, and Nero had like a completely different playstyle. It was really fun. And I will say one thing about Devil May Cry 4 that might be like controversial opinion. I do think Devil May Cry 4 has the best boss fight in the series. Yes, like the rest of the bosses weren't that great, but Credo, I do think Credo is the singular best boss in the series. Virgil, obviously amazing in some of the games, but like Devil May Cry 5, the fight with Virgil was cool. The fight was with the Knight, with Dante. That was also like really fun. So there are like fun boss fights, and Devil May Cry 5 have like the production value. It's replayable. The designs though, the environments, the return of Virgil, so it got a lot going for it, but I don't know. Devil May Cry 4 feels better to play. I know it's a controversial opinion. Still, Devil May Cry 3 to me is still the GOAT. It's the best overall complete game, but yeah. The rest of the 3 are amazing. Devil May Cry 4 is probably like my favorite out of these 3, but all of them are amazing. I would rank them actually like Devil May Cry 4, 5, and then 1. 1 great at its time, but not as replayable right now. So controversial opinion maybe, but that is my opinion. Mad World. Anyone actually played Mad World? Because that game was pretty sick. Mad World was a game that came out on Wii. It's made by Platinum. And it has like a very stylized look where it's like everything was black and white, but the game was extremely gory and blood was the only thing that was like unread. The combat system, because it's on the Wii, was kind of limiting on what you can do, but the experience was very solid. And I remember the game it was like you were playing through a game show, and as you were like fighting everyone, there would be like this commentator on the background. And I still remember like the fight where you were fighting the succubus. The succubus boss, and this is like one of the most hilarious thing, right? Like you're fighting the succubus boss, and it's like the one guy on the one like, this girl's evil, she's done that, and the second one was like, awesome rack on her though, and like, yeah, through that. And I laughed my ass off when that happened. It came out in 2009. I do think the idea of them going for like a black and white aesthetic covered really like how weak like the Wii was as a console. So overall, it was a very solid experience. If you haven't tried it, try to find a way to play it because it was really fun. Mad World, I'll give it a recommendation. So next up, we got Heavenly Sword, and this one is just okay. Heavenly Sword was a PlayStation 3 exclusive. This was like a launch game for PlayStation. I think it was a launch game, or it was like very close to launch. And it was made by Ninja Series, the guys who I do think later made the DMC Devil May Cry game. And this one had like really fun aesthetic. It's almost like a 300, almost like a Red Sonja kind of aesthetic. You know how like this like female that is totally badass, red-headed, almost like a Middle Ages kind of feel. So it was fun, and the game had like pretty cool visual for its times. The finishers were really cool. I remember her name was like Rico or Naruki. I don't remember exactly the name of the title because I played only like 2 times or whatever. The combat system wasn't the greatest. It was symbolistic, kind of like a God of War, and it had like really fun finishers. The thing is, this game came out with the launch of the PlayStation 3, and back then, remember when they had like the 6-axis where like you would like motion control with the pad, and you would have like this supporting character which was like her sister or something, the girl with the bow and arrow, and you would shoot the arrow, and it was like first person, and you had motion control navigate. It was a nightmare, but the game was fun. She had some really awesome finisher. She was like, I remember the one thing I remember about this game is like she was obsessed with like hitting guys in the nuts. There was like multiple finishers with focus on that, which was kind of weird, but it was a fun game. Probably not something that is worth like going back and replaying it every time, but it was fun. And speaking of Ninja Theory, since we are on it, you noticed I didn't include DMC Devil May Cry in the Devil May Cry series because I do think it's a little bit different, but I will put it in pretty solid. Might be a controversial opinion. Maybe people have people were really sour on this game when it first came out, but I think it's solid. Now it is weaker than the rest of the series. I do think so, but there's still good thing here. I do think the level design was kind of interesting. I personally don't love the ultra edgy environment and the ultra edgy characters, but I do think the fact that the environment would change, Limbo was kind of interesting. They tried. Like there was a lot of effort put in here, and you can clearly see that. This is not a game where they slacked off. There was a lot of love and a lot of direction into this game. Now, is it a direction that we liked? Not really. And one thing that I hated, one thing I hated about this game is the Virgil character. Before I talk about the combat, Virgil had zero honor, and this is something that pissed me off so much because, like, at least Devil May Cry 4, Devil May Cry 5, 3, Virgil was always kind of honorable. Remember, heal your wounds, Dante. Virgil in DMC was like a piece of shit. Remember when he shot like the pregnant demon thing? Oh my god, he was a piece of shit. And he was like a coward. I really hated Virgil character in this one. But the gameplay was cool. I played the 30 FPS version, which is a travesty for Devil May Cry, but still the actual gameplay here was fun. You had like juggle system. I did like the fact that you could handle like multiple weapons, switch weapons with the flies, the angelic weapons and the devil weapons, and it made sense. It was like easy to understand. Color-coded enemies, that kind of sucked. The fact that you couldn't hit like the devil enemies with the angelic weapon, etc. or whatever was the other way. Blue and red enemies. But the game was still solid, and the fight against the like the network dude, the the disc host, that was kind of fun actually. That was an interesting fight. So it had some interesting things going for it. I don't think it's a solid game overall. I can't say with good conscience that it was made or a bad game. It was good. I think it was good. Overall, pretty solid. Let's get other one-offs. Remember Me. Well, let's talk about Remember Me. Remember Me, I'm gonna put it in the forgettable. Remember Me was okay. It was like an interesting experience by Capcom. Interesting experiment. They tried something different. The world was kind of interesting. The character herself, I think she called Nin, wasn't that interesting. You would steal like memories from people, give it back. The combat system was like you would design like specific combo routes, and that was kind of like predetermined, kind of fun, but not really. And her moveset didn't feel like it. I think it lacked a little bit of that kick. I don't know. It's like it's a game that I never felt the urge to try to replay. Maybe I'm gonna put it in just okay. I think it's actually better than that. It's just okay. Remember Me was just okay, but I never really tried to play it. Knack, I'm gonna put into the just forgettable. It is, I don't know why I actually didn't put Knack in this list, but Knack was just forgettable. It's obviously like a tech demo because they wanted to show you like how many polygons the base 4 could handle, and that is just the whole point of the game. It's very simplistic, very basic. Was like obnoxiously hard for some reason, although it seems like it's supposed to be like a kid game, but that one was kind of difficult. Alright, so let's talk about the games that I finished most recently. Final Fantasy 16, which I know is already like a challenging game to put in a list like that, because it's a Final Fantasy, it's an RPG, but this game is a hack and slash game. And where do we put Final Fantasy 16? I'm gonna put it in the pretty solid. I do like the combat of Final Fantasy 16. I'm gonna talk about the combat, and then I'm gonna talk about the game, thoughts on the game overall. Final Fantasy 16, I really like the combat. I like the fact that you could kinda fine-tune it with how you wanna play. Unfortunately, it's a moveset that is kind of limited. Like if you get all of the icons, I didn't get like the DLC. So by the end of the game, you have 6 icons, I believe. So that's like 18 abilities, but you're only allowed to have 6 at a time, which kind of limited what you can do, but it was still pretty fun. You had the wrap ability where you could just abuse it, you could pull them in. The freeze dodge was kind of cool. Odin hammer was kind of interesting. It gave you like a lot of what you like. It gave you a lot of abilities, and it gave you like jump cancels. There was like air dash, Sikkim Torgul, which was kind of fun. If you are someone who like to misses a lot with the combat, change the moveset, change your abilities a lot, respec a lot, it's a lot of fun because it allows you to change a lot about the game. I completed the game. I still playing it on like New Game Plus, and it's fun. Like the actual combat is fun enough where like I can find myself playing it for like 70-80 hours and I'm still playing, so that's good. As a game though, it's kind of weird that it's kind of weird when they go about like this is like the power of humanity to stand up against the gods and against, but it's just like you're playing just one really cool dude who's just throwing everyone else, and the world is like too bleak. The pacing of the game was really weird. Like you go from the Titan and Bahamut fights to that mid side quest or like main story quest where you're just talking to everyone. The game sorely lacked like mini games or any other meaningful ways that you can interact with the world. You're either just talking to NPCs in very dull ways, or you're just fighting, and all of the side quests were really lame, most of them at least. The production quality though on the icon fights, that was really cool. So it's a game with really high highs and devastating lows. So I'm gonna put it in the pretty solid. Overall, I enjoyed my time with it, and at some times I was put to sleep, so crazy. Alright, let's then switch over to a character action game that was better, and that is Nier Automata. Nier Automata is weird for me because it's either between the GOATs or amazing games. I'm gonna put it... You know what, I'm not gonna put it in the GOATs because I don't see myself going back to replay it now. because I already experienced. The best thing about Nier Automata is the story. Like it's an amazing game because of the story and what actually happens. Not really the combat. The combat was pretty decent. 2B, A2 had interesting combat. The combat was 9S, the hacking, that kind of got old fast, but it's obviously the story, and I don't want to talk about it so much because it's a game that you kind of have to experience yourself. The story was amazing. Like that Pascal section, oh my god. That is like one of the most emotional sections I have ever seen in a video game. The story will leave a lasting impact on you. There is a reason that people love Nier Automata so much. If you haven't, the game I think is out on everything, so give it a shot. It's an amazing game, absolutely worth trying. It's like Final Fantasy 16, but the story is actually open. It still got its flaws though, like the 9S. The second playthrough with 9S was a little bit boring, but overall it's amazing. Alright, we covered Devil May Cry. Let's go over to one of like the spiritual successors of Devil May Cry, and that is Bayonetta, right? So Bayonetta 1 goes into the GOATs. Bayonetta 2, for me, I'm gonna put it in the pretty solid because it doesn't deserve to be in just okay. But it's so disappointing. It is so disappointing to me. So let me actually explain the Bayo 1 and Bayo 2 situation, because it's something that I talked about in the Ninja Gaiden video, but I never really mentioned. Bayonetta 1 was incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I do think it's one of the greatest action games of all time. If you like Devil May Cry, there is a very good chance you will like Bayonetta. A lot of the concepts will apply as well. There is like on-the-fly weapon switching. You can switch between weapons based on like you wanna make her use the weapon on her arms or her legs. It kind of changes the moveset. What you can do is very varied. What I really liked about Bayonetta 1 is that there are many ways to play the game. Tons of different weapons. I feel like by the end you had like 7 or 8. So you were really flexible on how you would want to use it. Is it a perfect game? No, because there is like the quick time events that could insta-fail you. Gimmicky sections like the motorbike sections where like you may not get like the pure platinum if you are not like amazing in a mini game. That's kind of obnoxious. But the combat was great, the enemy designs were great, and the game wasn't gimmicky. You see what I'm saying? My biggest issue was Bayo 2, and I'm just gonna compare them together now. Bayo 2, graphics, improved a ton, art style is a lot cooler. I do think the design of Bayonetta, how she looks in general, looks really cool as well. In many ways, Bayonetta 2 is an upgrade. They even gave you like that devil trigger kind of mechanic. All of that sounds cool. Now you're fighting hellish enemies as well as angels. Cool, right? However, the main issue with Bayo 2 is that like the combat design, I do feel like was a lot weaker. With Bayonetta 2, the game became absolutely centralized around witch time. In Bayo 1, if you happen to perfect dodge something, you would activate witch time, and it would last for like 5 or 6 seconds, letting you like get a couple of hits in, big hits on the enemies. And that was it. If you're playing Bayonetta 1, and if you try to play the game on the highest difficulty, witch time is disabled. You can play Bayonetta 1 on its entirety without witch time. Bayonetta 2, witch time is a necessity, and they shortened the amount where it became like 2 or 3 seconds. There are enemies like the Lumen Sage in Bayonetta 2 where you can't even hit him without witch time, and that just sucks. Compare the fight against John in Bayonetta 1 to the Lumen Sage in Bayo 2, and it's just night and day. Night and day. Bayonetta 2, there is far too much reliance on witch time, and even like the larger enemies, you can't even launch them. Like the Centurion, like the half angels, half horses thing with big shields. These guys, like you can't even launch them. You have to only launch them in witch time, or you have to get up behind them. It limited a lot of what you can do. Bayonetta 2 unfortunately became a game where you would have to dodge, keep hitting them until you activated the Umbran Climax, which is like their devil trigger, and then you're just mashing and everything is flying everywhere because like full screen attacks. Just chaos. I feel like Bayo 1 had a much more considerate design where you had maybe unlock the parry accessory, maybe you just using like witch time to style on enemies or get like extra hits in, but you could beat the game without it, right? The game didn't use a single mechanic as a crutch, and for that I think the combat balance in general was a lot better. There were like torture techniques that was really good. Unfortunately, torture techniques didn't really work out that well in Bayonetta 2 because you always wanted to keep your meter for the Umbran climax. The devil trigger mechanic, like getting a kill on one enemy or getting to destroy the entire squad, like which one are you gonna pick? Obviously gonna pick the devil trigger mechanic, right? So the combat in Bayonetta 2, I feel like too much focus on witch time kind of made it not as fun to play. Bayonetta 1 is infinitely a lot more replayable, and even the side weapons was a lot of fun. Like the weapon where you get to freeze the enemies, the whip that acted like a Nero Devil Bringer where you could bring them in, the rocket launchers, that were really cool. 2 had weaker weapons as well, so I don't know. Overall, I'll say Bay 1, one of the GOATs. 2 is still a pretty solid game, but for me it was extremely disappointing. Going from like how high we were in Bay 1, 2 felt a little bit weaker. Now let's talk about the God of Wars. God of War 1 was obviously like a pretty solid game. I'm gonna put the initial trilogy in pretty solid. I think all of them were solid games. 3 obviously was really solid. I think all of them are pretty solid in all honesty. God of War 2, I'm gonna put in amazing because God of War 2 I do think was the best one in the series. Even Dead of War, Living Boy, this one is pretty solid as well, which I know that's a game that is highly rated, but I'm gonna put it in pretty solid. The original God of War was interesting. It was an action game with an extreme budget, which wasn't something that we would used to seeing, so that was really cool. The combat system in God of War was always pretty simplistic, but this one was pretty cool, and it gave us all, obviously, the finisher, quick time events. God of War was a really hugely fun game. God of War 2 is where things became like super large scale, graphics were like extremely improved. I can't believe God of War 2 came out on the PlayStation 2. Check it out how it is today, and the graphics are insane for the PlayStation 2. The game ran smoothly, combat was still as satisfying, the ending with Kratos climbing up with the Titans to fight the gods. That was like one of the greatest, most exciting endings I have ever seen, right? The endings was tremendous, puzzles were really cool. There's a reason that God of War 2, you will see that typically it's getting like 97, 98 on Metacritic. It's a very highly rated game, very fun. Obviously not the greatest action combat. Like all of these, many of these guys have better action, better combat. Even David Jaffe, the creator of God of War, was saying like Devil May Cry have better combat, and obviously it does. But this one was still tremendous. God of War 3 came out on the PlayStation 4. I think it came out on PlayStation 3 actually. That one was pretty cool. You go ahead, you kill all of the gods. The fights with Hercules was really fun. The fight with Hades was really fun. I kind of like the end with Zeus where they made it like a fighting game. That was also really cool. It was very gory, as you would expect. It was fun. God of War 3 was just fun. It was more of the same, but it was fun. And because of the PlayStation 3, at the time they were able to show like more large scale fights, which fighting against like the Titans, fighting against what was the name? The water dude at the start of the game? I don't remember, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. Dead of War is one that I do want to talk about a little bit. Leave it, boy. So this game is interesting. Like as a video game, as a product, I think it's high quality. There's a ton of production value. The game is good. Voice acting is good. The stories that they told here was good. As an action game, like the combat, I find to be I have some, like, there's some really weird oddities with this one. So here's the thing, like they took away jumping. The combat, obviously the camera is more zoomed in, so it is harder to like keep an eye on like where enemies is at all times. And it has some really weird things where with God of War, like if the enemy is behind you, the game will give you like an indicator, like a blue or a yellow or a red indicator. And in many ways, it is better to have the enemies behind you than have them in front of you, as there is a huge focus on parries. So the combat system in here, I find it to be like the least fun. It's still pretty good, and it is better than I expected, if I'm being completely honest, right? But I kind of liked the combat of the OG games a little bit more, and this one there's a little bit of like it's an action game with an inconsistent tells on the enemies and their next action, which is kind of weird. I don't know. Let me know. Am I the only one who feels that way? I don't know. Let's fire up a little bit more since I feel like we're going way too slowly. God of War Ascension, I'm gonna put it in the pretty solid. Again, God of War game, more on the classic. Kind of fun, nothing too crazy though. Let's go over the Ninja Gaiden. You know what? Let's keep Ninja Gaiden to the end. Metal Gear Rising Revengence. Maybe a little bit controversial, but I'm gonna put it in the pretty solid. I love this game. I love Raiden. Raiden is actually my favorite character in Metal Gear. I was super excited to play it. The game is made by Platinum. The combat is great. It's a ton of fun. It's got a ton of memes. It's a very meme-worthy game. Soundtrack is probably one of the coolest soundtracks of all time. And there is a Dantatsu where you like cut the enemies and then grab their butt and psh. That was always really fun. But I do feel like as an action game, this game is very shallow, and unfortunately the combat I feel like wasn't really that developed, and the combos I also felt like was a little bit arbitrary. Like, I'm being honest, although it came out with the same time as Devil May Cry, DMC Devil May Cry, and DMC was generally frowned upon, like people generally accepted Metal Gear Rising more. Over time, I feel like people kinda identify that DMC have a better action. It got a better combat. Metal Gear Rising, the combat is very simplistic. Side weapons are just unfinished. It feels like the combat gets a little bit repetitive. Berries that are a huge focus. It's still a lot of fun, but I don't see myself coming back to play it that much. I haven't played it in years. It's still an amazingly fun game. The set pieces are great and all, but the combat lack depth. I'm just gonna outright say the combat lack depth. If you compare it to like Bayonetta or even any of the Devil May Cry games, the combat absolutely lack depth. So it's pretty solid, but I wouldn't say it's amazing. Like all of the games here, well, Nier Automata is like is an exception, but they are better. They got like better combat. Astral Chain. Astral Chain as well. I'm gonna go and give it in the pretty solid. I don't know about Astral Chain. I wanted to like it really hard, but I never did for some reasons. Astral Chain, if you haven't played it, it's a game on the Switch. It's a game made by Platinum. You kind of have like a persona with you, like another, like you control a legion, and like there are a number of them, and you get to switch them, and each one got like a moveset, and you get to unlock them. It's interesting. It's an interesting game. It's a mix between like a character action game and an RPG. So there's a lot of interesting elements here. Upgrade systems that was really fun, but the game never clicked. I don't know why. Like, I never had that much enjoyment playing, and you could do some interesting stuff like moving the main character and the legion so that like you trap the enemy and like you chain them. That was kind of interesting. The combat was interesting, the idea was interesting, but I don't know if it was that fun. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Astral Chain, I liked it, but I didn't say I love it. Right? Dante Inferno for me is just okay. It's a God of War clone pretty much. It's the same thing, but I didn't love the aesthetics. I didn't love the aesthetic. I'm just gonna say it. Maybe a big part of it have to do with like religious beliefs as well. Yeah. It's a decent game. It got good production value. It's very similar to God of War, but I don't know. I just didn't love the aesthetic. I'm gonna be honest. Maybe it deserved better, maybe, but I don't know. Fury, I don't know why this one is here. It's not really like a hack and slash game, but that one was very solid. This is a boss rush pretty much, which was kind of fun. It's an indie game, but had an interesting combat. It's actually a lot of fun. Anarchy Reign. Anarchy Reign is a sequel to Mad World. This one was like It was like an online game where you get to play. It's called Max Anarchy Reign, a game that didn't really get to see that much playtime. I don't think it was ahead of its time. Bayonetta is actually a playable character in here, so that's actually really cool. And it's a fun game. It got more focus on like multiplayer matches, kind of like that kind of like Unreal Arena kind of feel over like a huge story. So it was an interesting idea, but I don't know. Like, it was just okay. I don't think it was that great. The combat wasn't that deep, so I feel like it was just okay. Transformer Devastation. This one also I do think is a pretty solid game. This was a game that was made by Platinum, and it was really actiony. It was really fun. The combat system in it was pretty good, but it's kind of on par with a lot of what's in here. And that I feel like that is the thing with Platinum in general. I don't know if it's just me, but Platinum does like a combat system that is really satisfying, that feels good. But most of the Platinum games, they don't feel that deep. You know what I'm saying? Like outside of Bayonetta is the one that got insane depths with like dodge offsets and a lot of stuff that you can do. The Transformer Devastation was pretty cool, but I don't think it's like an ultra deep game. It's like a very 7-8 out of 10 game. Blends it's not that long, it doesn't overstay its welcome, got some interesting set pieces, combat is fast, combat is good, it's basic light heavy dodge mechanics. There's like a little bit of witch time in there as well, so it's like it's a fun game, but I don't think it's not something that you would replay over and over and over for years, so it's not really that, but it's pretty good. Legend of Korra, that's just okay, and I will say Ninja Turtles as well. I'm gonna put it in there. Oh, you know what? Let's put them in forgettable. This is at a time where Platinum was making a lot of like budget games, a lot of like third party, kind of like budget games, let's be honest. And I didn't like it. Ninja Turtles did the sin of having your abilities on a cooldown. The game was lame, the game was really repetitive. Legend of Korra was a budget game. The combat system in it wasn't bad, but the level design wasn't that great. Combat also was repetitive. Transformer Devastation are pretty much like the improved version of these guys. They're not that nice. Now, we got interesting games left. Let's talk about Asura Wrath, and I'm gonna put it in amazing. Asura's Wrath didn't have great combat. The gameplay was very middle of the road. The actual gameplay was very middle of the road. But this game is a guilty pleasure because the stuff that takes place in it is insane. This is the most insane game you will ever play. Your eyes, like your jaw will drop at what is going on. It's the scale of the fight, the epicness is just insane. Asura's Wrath is a fan favorite, and they did a thing where like you had to buy DLC to get the real ending, and that sucks obviously, but we had to do it because it was just so cool. This game was so much fun. Asura's Wrath is just like the craziest video game you will ever see, so that was so fun. Now what's left are two video game series that I absolutely love, Darksiders and Ninja Gaiden, right? I'm gonna start first with Darksiders. Darksiders 1 I do think is a pretty solid. Darksiders 2 for me is... I'm gonna keep it at a pretty solid as well, because I do think it's better than the guys in just okay, but you know what, I'm actually gonna move... Yeah, it's not amazing. It's not amazing. I'm gonna put Darksiders 3 in amazing. And I'm gonna explain myself. Darksiders 1 is a kind of like a Legend of Zelda type of game, right? Where the combat is there, it's fun, it's not crazy, it's kind of like a God of War level combat where it's fun, there is decent abilities, but nothing that will blow your mind away, right? But the theme in general of the game was really fun, exploration was really fun. Darksiders 1 is just a really good video game. Darksiders 2, I didn't really like a lot of the RPG elements that they added, and this, I don't know, I never gelled with. I feel like War was a lot cooler as a character, and I liked his design a lot more. Darksiders 2 is a little bit more of the same. I didn't really enjoy the emphasis on platforming as well that was in Darksiders 2. So I don't know, it's still a fine game, I still absolutely love him. I do love the series in general actually. This actually is one of my favorite series, and I don't think it's extremely underrated. But Darksiders 3, I know this game is like a 7 out of 10. It's like a 6 out of 10 even for some. For some reason, for some godforsaken reason, I absolutely love Darksiders 3, and I can't put my hands on exactly why. It's so much fun though, it's so much fun. And I will say, Darksiders 3 probably got the combat that is closest to a Dark Souls, unlike the other games where like more hack and slash. This one is a little bit more of like a Dark Souls. I feel like everyone here is like a guilty pleasure of mine, with the exception of like the Devil May Cry games. About Darksiders 3, like the combat is a little bit more like a Dark Souls, but it was so much fun. I really enjoyed Fury as a character. I do think the water level, the water stage, is probably one of the best underwater levels I have ever seen in video games, which is actually kind of fun. I absolutely love Darksiders 3. I kind of liked the web as a weapon as well. It was a lot of fun. It really was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I actually got the platinum trophy for Darksiders 3, and that's how much I enjoyed it. I love it. I replayed it so many times. I know everything inside and out. I love this game. I don't know why, but I love it. Alright, now it's time for the final games, the Ninja Gaidens, and this is where the Mura bias will come into the play, right? But I'm gonna rapid fire them. Ninja Gaiden Black, or Ninja Gaiden 1, GOAT, Ninja Gaiden 2, Xbox 360, GOAT, Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma, I'm gonna put in just amazing, Ninja Gaiden 3, this is, I'm gonna say this is Razor's Edge, and I'm gonna put it in pretty solid. I'm not gonna put it in the just okay, because it is better than the guys over here, but let me explain each of them quickly. Ninja Gaiden 1, the original, one of the greatest games of all time. I do think it is the best character action game of all time. It's for me, it's the Ninja Gaiden 1, Devil May Cry, and Bayonetta. These three are the best character action games of all time. Ninja Gaiden 2 is there because the combat is absolutely insane. It's an addiction. You can be like a Ninja Gaiden 2 addict. But as far as a complete video game, these three are nuts. I absolutely love every single one of them. They are great, amazing. The original Ninja Gaiden had more of like a Metroidvania style. The combat was very cathartic, very fun. The idea of Ryo Hayabusa being able to jump on walls, run on walls, it made you think differently about the arena, and enemies were really aggressive. Like in many of these action games like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, the enemies aren't that aggressive because the idea of the game is they want you to style on the enemies, where in Ninja Gaiden they just want you to survive. The game is about survival, and I feel like overall as a game it's the most solid from the Ninja Gaiden series. Ninja Gaiden 2 is where they were like, alright, let's go insane. And they went insane. The combat became extremely fast, gore was turned up to 11, and the pace of the game. Ninja Gaiden 2, Ryu is broken. Talking about the 360 version, Ryu is broken. Ryu is very powerful. There is a lot of enemies. Each one of these enemies are lethal. This is not like a Dynasty Warrior game where like enemies are just ants for you to squash. No, enemies in Ninja Gaiden 2, they are lethal. They're coming after you. They're gonna throw their shurikens, they're gonna throw rocket launchers, they're gonna go after you ham. But Ryu is also extremely strong, and you're just so strong, cutting from one enemy to the next, one enemy to the next, one enemy to the next. A lot of it is like abusing iframes, a lot of it is abusing ultimate technique, iframes, obliteration technique, iframes, but how hectic and how crazy and how fast everything's moving, it's a video game trip. I know there is a guy called like I think it's like the British Gaming Show. He put it really well. If cocaine is a video game, then Ninja Gaiden 2 is it. That game is crazy. Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma, they tried to go for a more balanced experience. They reduced the number of enemies but increased their HP, and unfortunately this kind of hit the pace of the game, where like instead of it being about you have so many enemies, you're cutting through them quickly one by one, it became a lot more about, okay, I have to hit this guy, and then remove the other one, and then hit the other one. And once you play it on Master Ninja, the fact that one grab, like it scales horribly on Master Ninja. Like Master Ninja on Ninja Gaiden 2 is a lot of fun. Ninja Gaiden on Master Ninja 2 Sigma. This one was kind of like tedious, to be honest, because of like the one grab equals you're dead, and the fact that enemies do way too much damage. The balancing is kind of weird. I wish they tuned it a little bit better. I feel like that could make for a better game. It's still really solid because it was based on Ninja Gaiden 2 and the combat in that game is still big. But when you're hitting like an IS ninja and you have to Izuna drop them 2 or 3 times for them to die, dismemberment was reduced significantly. Like the rate at which you dismember enemies was reduced significantly as well. So yeah, it's still a good game, but not that great. Ninja Gaiden 3, I'm gonna talk about the Razor's Edge because obviously if we're talking about the original 3, it's gonna be here. But if I'm talking Razor's Edge, Razor's Edge did a lot to recover what the original Ninja Gaiden 3 did. And now you have more weapons. There is like the steel on bone mechanic, which is an interesting idea. But I still don't like the core concepts of Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. They nerfed a lot of the abilities that were really powerful in Ninja Gaiden 1 and 2, like the guillotine throw, like the flying swallow, and I get that. And Ninja Gaiden 3 is more about you being on offense. And there is fun to be had, but I do think the enemy design weren't that great. I didn't like the fact that enemies jump out a lot of your combos. There's a lot of reliance on hold techniques. There is the Cicada Surge, which is like an essential combat. It have a different combat to the other two, right? You either love it or hate it. Personally, I don't like it that much compared to the other two. I respect the combat, I respect what they did, but I think there is a lack of enemy variety. The bosses were the region boss was kind of fun though, but I don't know. I don't love Ninja Gaiden 3 that much. That's about it. Let's leave Devil May Cry 2 at the bottom. This is my list. I would love to hear your thoughts about all of it in the comment section below. I'll be leaving a link to the Patreon, Discord, Twitter, and Twitch pages in the description. Thank you so much for watching and stay safe.